Okay, we're going to talk about, first we're talking about efficiency, now we're going to talk about technology. So, what I found interesting when you talk to people, you just use a kind of a generalized term called technology. It's like, what the heck is technology? Well, some people might say, oh, technology is, 2 monitors, a keyboard, a mouse, and a headset. Some people might say, no, technology is a cell phone. It's a smartphone. I'm a musician, I like to play the guitar. Some people might say technology looks like this. It might be a musical studio. Some people might say, no, technology is a car that drives itself. It's an electronic car. Sometimes people think technology is a robot, just a crazy robot. And really, in a basic sense, technology might just be a microchip stuck in some hardboard somewhere in a computer. But I think we can all agree, if any of those things resonate with you, that technology is extraordinary. And one machine can do the work of an ordinary, so ordinary human, but no machine can do the work of an extraordinary human. And that's because the human has to invent the technology. So we're extraordinary. So again, technology enhances humans. And I want to talk a little bit about technology in mobile home parks. So, number one, we want to make managers mobile because, again, when you're managing a property, you're going to be out of the property, and you want to make sure that you can get around and move and do things on the fly. So, typically, what you'll see at a park office is, again, you'll have computers and papers, and this is a typical office setting. What we've learned over the years is that park management is really a cell phone. It's just literally a cell phone and that's it. And you can manage your entire business from this phone. And I mentioned before we use Rent Manager, and this is kind of what their app looks like. So I showed you this earlier. You can capture, you can do service issues, you can read meters, you can do violations, inspections. And so this is very, very efficient, and you can call your residents, text them, however you want to do that. The nice thing is, it keeps everything organized and standardized. And so, again, we want to make sure we kind of keep everything in one place. And the key is you want to be able to be out working with your residents. I have my team. This is a picture of actually my team. So again, we have tablets. We can go see our residents. We can talk to vendors if they're in the field. We can talk to the residents, and we can, again, if there's an issue with the resident or if they're just saying hi, we're just always out in the field making sure that we're communicating and relating to them. Talk a lot about online payments. We want to be able to collect our rent instantly. And funny little stat, 71% of people bank online. Oops, it just went up. Now 72% of people are, more and more people are going online, which is a good thing. And because people bank online, it just makes sense that they would pay online. So again, rent collection made simple. The way, again, we do it is we want to make sure that we have the ability to make it easy for our residents to pay us. So when we do an online system, this is kind of what the login looks like through Rent Manager. It's their tenant access. And when they log on to this, they'll have access to their entire, everything that's going on in their unit. And then a bolt-on to that is what's called ZGO Pay Lease. And ZGO Pay Lease is a bolt-on that allows you to collect all these payments in multiple forms: Visa, MasterCard, American Express, if you want to accept that, checking, savings, debit, and it's all certified, or again, cash pay cards. If somebody wants to, again, come into if they want to pay rent with a wheelbarrow full of pennies, we don't care because it's still money, and they can take that through the cash pay system and get us paid. The other big one is enhanced communication. So I know the biggest frustration in parks is that sometimes you get this crazy call. Oh my gosh, there's water. And it usually comes from a resident. My water pressure's going down. And you're like, what are you talking about? The water's fine. And then you walk outside and then you call the plumber because you see pooling coming up, and then the plumber comes out and digs a hole, and this is what you see next, right? Well, this is obviously extremely frustrating. and you just go, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do now? But now what's happening is your phone's blowing up because all the residents are calling and going, how come I can't take a shower? What's going on? What's going on with the water? So we want to, again, find ways to communicate, not with 100 people one at a time, but send one communication to 100 people one time. So again, we use a mass communication system where we can literally do email and text communication and make sure we're sending all this out. So it's super, super efficient. And again, we can talk to one person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, it doesn't matter. The other thing that we see a lot in the park business is we got to lease homes. So we've got, we've really seen our business evolve over the past 5-10 years, where we used to be mobile home parks, then some people have RVs, and now some people are saying, like I was just talking to the young lady over here, they're going to do some glamping homes, we're going to do park models, we're going to do VRBO stays or Airbnb stays. So our industry is really changing and evolving. And so, again, we want to maximize our leasing potential. And the problem, again, is that paper slows us down. So we've got all these leasing documents, and we got to sign them and make sure they're filed and put them in a place, and it's just really, really difficult. So what we want to be able to do is, again, make sure that we're maximizing this. And what we've seen too, and when I say one manager, it's again one specialty can do a lot more if you're utilizing technology and leasing. So we have Jeff in our business. He's our leasing. There he is over there. He's waiting. Jeff can lease his. You don't bring your gavel, did you? Jeff's like a leasing machine, but Jeff loves leasing. So he's basically our leasing guy, and that's all he does. So again, we do this online. So we have an online application, and everything's filled out on a computer. So we want to make sure again that we're keeping that data protected. And we take criminal background screening. We get every single thing that we need from the resident so that we can approve them or deny them. And then, again, everything's done on a smartphone these days. So we've had people sign leases on their smartphone. We find 80% of people live in the smartphone. Anybody have a flip phone in the room? No flip phones? Good. Oh, 82% of people are now using smartphones. It's amazing. More and more people are doing it. So, so once they've applied and we've approved them, we now want to send them a lease agreement. And I don't care, again, where they're at, or if they're in their car, or if they're sitting in front of a computer, they can sign their lease from anywhere. And once they sign this document, it date and time stamps exactly when they signed it. You can't forge a signature, and this is becoming an industry standard in a lot of industries, real estate, where electronic signatures and date and time stamps are now becoming just the norm. 5 years ago, not so much, but now they're definitely becoming the norm. So once they're approved, they lease online, and then of course we're going to have some move-in costs because maybe they're moving in the middle of the month, so we're going to have to prorate them in, and we want them to be able to pay their charges before they show up to the property to move in, because we've had some situations back in the old days when we were using not as much technology, where you lease an RV space on the phone, all of a sudden they show up, and then you send them a bill, they still have to pay, now they've lived there for free for 2 weeks, and it's like, hey, wait a minute, we've got to get them taken care of before they show up. So, and again, everyone, not everyone, but a large majority of people are already paying online, so this is pretty easy to do. And then the other thing that we started experimenting with, and it kind of came out of a different asset, but we have an apartment building as well, and we kind of asked ourselves the CKC question. We got curious and said, I wonder if we could lease this entire apartment building without, again, having to show units. And we started getting curious about that. We started gaining some knowledge about that, and we kind of ran an experiment. We said, this was the experiment. We didn't do it in the mobile home park world yet, but again, outside the asset, or outside the mobile home park world, we tried to do it with the apartments. And what we found was we can put something online, And somebody can see this online. They get pre-qualified online through our technology. So when it asks them very specific questions, what's your FICO score? Do you have a dog? Yes. What kind of dog? And if it's a pit bull, it'll automatically deny it. It'll just say, sorry, you don't qualify. We ask them what their, we ask them about their criminal history, and they literally go through this tree. And then once they do that, what ends up happening is then they take a picture of their driver's license. Now they're pre-qualified, we've got a picture of the driver's license. And then the technology takes off from there and it says, okay, when do you want to see the home? They actually schedule the date and time they want to see it. Then our system geolocates them. So when they go to the property, we want to make sure that it's not somebody in Singapore, let's say, trying to let somebody in to break in the house for fraud reasons. We want to make sure they're physically at the property. And a few minutes before they're showing, they get a text and it says, here's your code to get in the house, in the apartment. They click the text number, they walk in, and then when they walk in, they get to see the unit, and we were staging these units, and so they go in and they enjoy themselves, they get to see the unit, and as soon as they leave, the technology says they've left. And when they leave, 15 minutes later, it starts texting them again and says, how'd you like the unit? Is it priced right? Would you like an application? And when they say yes, they would like an application, then Jeff goes into full gear and says, boom, now we're going to start rocking and rolling and get this person signed up. So Jeff moves 20, 30, 40, 50 people in a month and has never met any of them. And again, we have very high ratings on Google when we do these for our new residents because they like the technology. So that's not Jeff, but it's kind of what Jeff looks. Jeff's always smiling at the office because he's just, like I said, he's just doing his thing and he's leasing. So again, we want to make humans extraordinary with technology, and I just hear it a lot of saying, well, technology is basically it's going to replace people. And what I found in my company is the more we use technology, the more people we have, but we have those people doing things they absolutely love to do in their gift. So again, I think that technology makes humans extraordinary. And just a question is that if you're still using the old school model and you're doing everything with paper and pen and walking out and communicating one at a time with your residents, can your model survive that? Because again, technology change is just like a freight train coming at us. And so I really think that we have to be the change and change with it. So take a step into the future and start small. Again, we talk about foundational stuff. You've got to have a foundation before you can build a roof. So we want to take a step into the future, start using technology just maybe in one piece, like we're just going to do online payments, or maybe you're going to, I certainly wouldn't start with online remote leasing before I figured out the payment piece, but that's just me. And then start small. Just a small step. Again, I mentioned yesterday, you want to get 1% better every day. You don't want to boil the ocean and try to get 100% better in a month because you'll just get tired, you'll get exhausted, and it's confusing. And then think big. Just again, start small, think big. 1% better every day leads to huge results in the future. So that's all I've got on the technology piece. So any questions? Again, open book here, how we do things, or? Yes?
Yeah, on the portal for rent manager, I imagine there's a tab or something for maintenance issues. The tenant has an issue, they put some tab on there, and then it notifies the maintenance. What is that?
Yep, so there's multiple ways you can do it. So we use work orders inside of Rent Manager. And so those work orders can be automatically assigned to an individual in your company, or they can be automatically assigned to a vendor. And so when that work order gets processed, then it basically goes to whoever it needs to go to. So you can literally just funnel it down and say, this is how I want to do it. Now we actually use, again, I talk about making humans extraordinary. we've actually found a company that all they do is maintenance, and they just, and so imagine having a 24/7, 365 maintenance tech that can answer the phone at 2 in the morning and say, what was your name, sir?
It's Kyle.
Kyle, hey Kyle, what's your problem? Oh, my garbage disposal's not working. Hey, can you take a quick picture for me? Can you look up under there? Hey, do you know there's a hex thing under there? It's just jammed. Can you try that? They'll troubleshoot it and try to fix the problem. And they'll do this 24, like I said, 24/7, 365. If they can't resolve the problem, what they do then is they'll say, all right, Kyle, I'm going to have a plumber come out and see you tomorrow. And they literally integrate with Rent Manager. They'll create a work order, and then you as the owner would say, every time a plumbing issue comes in, it has to go to Billy the plumber. Billy the plumber then would get that work order, and the next morning, and this company then is again, it's a human being, right? But we want specialized humans doing what they love to do. They'll end up calling the plumber and said, hey, Kyle has an issue with his garbage disposal. Then they'll call you back and say, how did you enjoy the service? And so this all integrates in. So it's, again, hands off. Because, again, my team, they like to enjoy the weekends. We don't work Saturdays and Sundays. We like to go have fun, but we still have 365 coverage. So that's how we do it. Yes, sir.
If you're using Rent Manager as a property manager, what level of access and control can you provide the owners of the property through Rent Manager?
I guess, so you're saying from like a third-party management system, or?
No, Rent Manager is often used by property managers.
Yep.
And what level of access and control can you provide to the owners of the property?
Okay, so I think,
that platform?
so I own and I fee manage, right? I do both.
Yeah, right.
So are you asking that if you were a?
If I own the property and you're my property manager,
Yeah, okay, perfect.
what kind of visibility and
Yeah.
control do I have?
So as much or as little as you like. So I'll give you an example. So some owners say, look, I want to basically see everything and I want to actually approve bills. No problem. So you set it up in a portal. Every time a bill's entered, you get emailed and say, hey, you have a bill to pay. You have a bill to approve. You push a button, the PDF shows up on your computer, your tablet. You go, oh, this is a plumbing bill. It looks good. Approved. Push a button on your tablet. Go back to golfing or whatever you love to do, and then that gets handled through the back end. So you can say, this is what I want to see. This is what I want to do. These are the reports I want. The thing that I ran into with early on when I started with fee management is that I had to wait 20 days after the close of the month. So let's say from January 1st to January 31st, you have your income, your expenses, and then you show up 20 days later in February before you got your reports. I like real-time reports. Technology allows us to get our stuff in real time, so why would we have to wait 20 days to get those reports? So those are all up on an owner portal. So we have a tenant web access and owner web access, and so you can get access to anything you want. So. Any other questions? Yes?
Currently, I use Campground Master
Okay.
to keep track of everything in the park. Would this app replace Campground Master?
So I've heard of so Rent Manager would replace it because it's not, they're competing softwares basically. I'm not familiar with the back end of Campground Manager. Here's what I also with technology, and we talk about foundational stuff, is that some software companies play nice with others and some don't. And again, there's no right or wrong. Like originally Apple didn't play nice with anybody, right? So if you wanted to buy a Mac computer, you were stuck with exactly what they put in there. Whereas Microsoft was more of an open system saying, hey, we play nice with everybody, develop whatever you want to do. So Campground Master, I don't know if they have a lot of API, what I call API integrations, but they probably don't.
It's very self.
Because they were probably very limited to just, hey, we're just kind of an RV thing. But as we mentioned earlier when you and I were talking, offline, our business is complicated. I mean, apartments, they rent boxes inside of a building, right? If you're in self-storage, it's a little more complicated because you're renting boxes inside under a roof, but you might want to sell stuff in your retail center. If you're leasing a shopping center, you're just collecting rent from Target, Starbucks, PetSmart, whoever your tenants are. Mobile home parks are complicated because you've got land lease, you might have a park-owned home, you might have a short-term RV, you might have a long-term RV, you might have a storage unit. It's complicated, right? So what we needed a system that would allow us to have an open API that we could bolt in all these different things that would address multiple things. So somebody asked me this morning, right before the conference started, they said, does Rent Manager just do mobile home parks? And the answer is no. You can manage a shopping center, you can manage an apartment building, you can manage anything you want, anything that collects rent, a single family house, an office building. Hopefully nobody owns an office building. Anything else?
Mark, you said you have all these widgets that plug in with Rent Manager. Do you have any RV parks that you're using? Because I'm guessing that's what you have.
Yeah, so when I say widgets, so like Zego is our payment processor, which punches in there. Latchel is the company that I was telling you about that does our maintenance, that punches in there. We use Amrent for our applications. Like Fox and Insurance, they're here. We're looking at them for more of our park-owned home rentals or apartments. So they'll literally monitor on the back end and they'll push that data in. Metron, we're getting ready to experiment with Metron in one of our properties. Same thing, they'll send that data right into Rent Manager every single day. So again, it's up to you. You can kind of pick like, hey, I want this over here. There's some really cool, the RV industry on the technology side is, there's a couple companies out there that are really coming. I think they're going to be really the future of the RV industry. They're looking at doing it like a Travelocity or some sort of hotel booking site where they will literally allow you to book your space 24/7, 365, and you'll be able to see your spot. Oh, I got a slide out on this side, or I'm 40 foot, and I need 30 amp or 50 amp. And it literally will allow you to book that 24/7, and it'll just push it right into Rent Manager. Now that's not there yet, but Rent Manager is always reaching out to these really cool niche software companies. And I'll show you that if you guys end up coming to my last talk, I've got about a 4-minute video, and I'll kind of demonstrate how we use literally a robot that answers the phone, pre-qualifies everybody, gets them into the unit, shows them the unit, and then tees them up to rent. Because again, we want to take companies that are going to basically be really specialized, whereas Rent Manager is like, to me, it's like a big piece of concrete. It's like, just build whatever you want. If you want green rooms and 20-foot ceilings, that's great. Maybe somebody wants brown rooms and 9-foot ceilings, but you can build whatever you want. It's really neat. I'm sorry? Latchel. It's amazing.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Latchel. Latchel. Yeah, I'll talk about it. I'll also talk about it in my last talk. But Latchel, yeah, again, 24/7, 365 maintenance, and it's been amazing. You tell it what to do, and it does it. Anybody else? Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you a little bit later.